This incident, which happened in the late 1800s, is still considered to be one of the largest instances of mass murder in the state of Nebraska. It is also an unsolved mystery, but we will get to that in a bit. On August 9, 1894, locomotive 213 was filled with water and coal and was ready for its journey from Fairbury, Nebraska to Lincoln, Nebraska. It left Fairbury at 7:30 p.m. and it would be a 2-hour journey before the train reached Lincoln. The locomotive carried passengers with the use of 2 passenger cars. At around 9:20 p.m., only 10 minutes or so away from its final destination, the train reached a 400-foot trestle bridge just outside of town. Underneath the 40-foot drop was the Salt Creek. As the engine started to make itself along the bridge, the rails began to spread apart. When the passenger cars began to cross over, the weight became too much and the train crashed into the creek below. When the engine hit the ground, it burst into flames, and hot coal and steam began to spread throughout the trestle and the passenger cars. A newspaper at the time reported, "It was an awful sight. The flames mounted high in the heavens, coloring the entire southern sky a brilliant carmine, while the moonbeams fell upon the glowing mass below, from which mortal shrieks of agony and pain were heard to issue." As soon as the engine burst into flames, 3 men were able to escape the wreckage. A help party was organized, led by C.J. Bills, to rescue as many passengers as possible. Unfortunately, the help party determined that the first passenger car and the engine was beyond help, and they decided to concentrate on helping those in the second passenger car. The party was able to rescue 15 passengers off the second car. The closest place to call for help was the state penitentiary, which was about 2 miles away. Another train reached the scene about 40 minutes later to take the survivors to Lincoln. Due to the location, no fire wagons could reach the site, and the burning pile was left to go out on its own. Of the 33 passengers that left Fairbury, 11 were killed in the crash. When the investigation began to unfold as to what had happened, the survivors began to tell the police that they had seen an unknown man holding a lantern near the trestle. With this information, the investigators started to look for signs of sabotage. They soon started to find a large amount of evidence which suggested that indeed the trestle bridge was sabotaged. On the trestle, spikes had been pulled, wrench marks were found on the rail, and gouges on the rail showed signs that a crowbar was used to pry them apart. Nearby on the grass, a 40-pound large crowbar was soon found as well. 2 days later, a man named George Washington Davis was arrested. The survivors claimed it was Davis who was out near the trestle on the day of the accident. Davis stated that he ran 4 miles from a club to witness the wreck as he saw flames and smoke rising into the sky. There was no evidence to suggest that Davis had anything to do with the crime. Davis never admitted guilt, and investigators could not find a motive. Regardless, Davis was tried twice for the crime. When the first trial took place, the jury could not reach a verdict because first-degree murder could not be proven by the prosecution. When the second trial took place, the judge told the jury that if the prosecution cannot prove first-degree murder, then Davis can be convicted of second-degree murder. In 1895, Davis was convicted of second-degree murder. 10 years later, Davis was paroled because the governor at the time stated that there was no evidence to support the idea of Davis committing the crime. This begs the question, why does someone pry apart the rails to bring down a passenger train? There is also an interesting part to this story with regards to Davis. When investigators first asked Davis to recount what he had seen and heard, he said the sound was not too bad until the engine exploded. However, survivors claim that the engine exploded immediately on impact. Was Davis really there at the moment it happened? Thank you so much for watching.